Utinni!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Wednesday evening Utinni Designs live stream where we're going to work on some laser projects. Uh, First thing I want to let you know is I will be using Samcraft jigs. So if you're into lasers and you have an XTool laser, I believe he has some other jigs as well. Be sure to go to this link, samcraft.shop, and pick up your laser jigs. He has excellent laser jigs. He's very helpful. They come with XCS software templates, so it's very easy to line up and get right in it and get going. So be sure to check him out. Great jigs. I love them. And even though I make some of my own, which I will show you here in a little bit, that I made a custom one for a specific project, for your main projects like coasters, dog tags, pet tags. Um, Gosh, he's got business card ones. He's got pens, pencils, any type of jig you may be looking for. If he doesn't have it, shoot him an email. He'll create it. He created a prototype coin jig, which we showed in the last live, and it worked pretty good. I still need to test it for a long engraving. I just haven't had the opportunity to do that just yet. But he did do the coin jig, which worked great. Everything was centered. Everything looked good. So very impressed with how he did those jigs. So I will be doing a long embossing laser engraving with that jig to test out its durability under high temp and long duration lasering. I just haven't had a chance to do that yet. That probably won't be live just because of the fact that it takes 2 to 3 hours to do, and I'll just report back my findings on that once I get that done. So be sure to check out samcraft.com, or I'm sorry, samcraft.shop, and get his laser jigs for your XTool F1 Ultra. The next thing on the list is I am doing a 3D print currently while we're doing this, and it looks like I need to go maybe check it because it looks like it may not be sticking. So bear with me and I will go do that. But while we do that, I am going to share my other screen and we will see the project that we'll be working on here. So this is the project that I'm going to be working on. This is for Rex at Millennium Workshop. These are a set of coasters. You can check out Rex and his great stuff on YouTube at Millennium Workshop on YouTube. I believe that's also his same handle for Instagram. He creates some great custom helmets, 3D printed items, cosplay, all that sort of stuff. So be sure to check out Rex. He's a great guy and he'll hook you up. All right, so let me go check on this printer real quick and then we'll get started. All right, we are back. Hey, Pats fan. Happy to see you, buddy. So we're getting ready to laser engrave some black slate rock coasters for Rex at Millennium Workshop. Um, Again, if you want to see what Rex does at Millennium Workshop, you can check out his YouTube here, or you can go to his Instagram. I believe it's the same link, at Millennium Workshop, and check out some of his awesome cosplay stuff, helmets. He did a video the other day where he actually talked to the designer of the Stranger helmet from the Star Wars show, The Acolyte. So that was pretty cool. But check him out. He has some awesome stuff if you're in the Star Wars and cosplay collectibles. So this jig here is again by Samcraft. You can get his jigs at samcraft.shop. If you are an XTool laser owner, he has them for several, specifically the F1 and the F1 Ultra. I am using the F1 Ultra today, and I have this set up on his jig already. So basically, you have your view, and then you can also you can remove and align different things. And I have already set this up so everything is aligned to this template. So all I have to do is hit go process, and then we will go directly to the laser. So let me do that. And let me go to the laser screen here so we can see this going. There's the laser. Yeah, I think Rex did do it better, Ken. I totally agree with that. So everything is already set up for this. Just to save just a tiny bit of time, you will see me set up some other jigs, and then I will also set up a jig that I custom made, and you will help me select two designs to do on a 8-ounce flask. So we will do that live as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go to process and start on this so we can get this going. And I will be right back. All right, so we're in the laser room now. I know you can't see me and I can't see you, but hopefully you can see the laser. And the settings on this I will run down as soon as I get back in the other room and we start setting up the other projects. So I'm just going to hit start on the XTool F1 Ultra. We are using the fiber laser to do this engraving on the black slate rock. And these will go fairly quickly. And once these are complete, just for good measure, I will do one more pass on them, just so we can get a little bit of a brighter engrave. Now, what I did to prep these prior, I did not leave them raw. What I did is I sanded them down, and then I put polyurethane, a clear polyurethane layer on top of them, and that just kind of makes them a little bit darker than your natural slate color, and that way the logo and engraving really pops on these. So once this second one is done, I will go ahead and hit it again. And that also helps clean up anything that, any little pieces or anything that might be on them. So I'm going to hit this one more time. You could really use another tattoo. Yeah, I don't think you'd want to do a tattoo with a laser. I think that would probably hurt. So this is now on its second pass. The settings that I'm using for this vector logo is 65% power. I'm using the fiber IR laser. It's 65% power, 1800 speed, one pass, 200 lines per centimeter, and 30% or 30 kilohertz frequency on the fiber laser for the F1 Ultra. So those are your settings that will get you something similar on rock slate coasters. And that is with vector graphics. Now, if you have raster graphics or a photo or something like that, you're going to have to adjust your settings because these settings are dialed in specifically for vector items. And even sometimes these settings I need to adjust slightly for different vectors. So, but that is what we have for that. Now, the next design that we'll be doing will take just a tiny bit of setup. I'll do a little prelude before that, but it should be a pretty cool project. And you're going to help me pick two designs for a 8-ounce whiskey flask. So now this is complete, and I'm going to go grab those off and set up the next project. Again, these Samcraft jigs are really great. Now on this particular jig, I can use the thumb screws that came with the XTool L bracket. Some jigs are a little bit thicker, so they won't allow you to use those. Some are not, so your mileage may vary, but Sam does send you some hex screws that are 4mm, and that way you can use those. So I'm just going to wipe these off because it is slate, so you do get a little bit of dust with them. And once I have this other project set up and in the laser, then I will show you the final result. So we're going to remove this jig. And I put these cards down so I don't mark my laser bed, even though I already have in some places. But it just helps, if you have a jig that has holes in it or spaces, it just helps. So this next little project I had to create a jig, and I created and 3D printed this jig, and it is for a flask, and I have it married with a XTool F1 jig that is compliant to work with the F1 Ultra. So this will keep everything centered, and I have not used this jig yet, so this will be interesting. So I'm just going to lock that jig down. We're going to place our flask, and as I said before, just for good measure, we're going to put down some aluminum business cards to keep from marking our bed, if at all possible. You don't have to do this. I just do it because I'd prefer not to mark my bed if I don't have to. So, all right, let me grab these coasters here. And then we will move on to the next project. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to switch cameras real quick. So these are the coasters, and these are now finished and ready to ship off to Rex. Turned out really nice. They have a nice shine to them. Again, I did take a normal slate coaster, polyurethane it before I lasered it, and I also sanded it down before I polyurethaned it. So as I drop it, that's what normal slate looks like. Not very shiny, kind of dull. So what I do is I take a orbital sander or a mouse sander, or a quarter sheet sander, and I just sand it down with 60 to 80 grit, and then I go back over it with 120. Then I spray it with polyurethane, let it dry, and then I'm ready to laser engrave the slate. I also custom designed and printed a slate coaster holder or display, so that way when he's not using these, he can set those on his desk and display them. So that's all custom 3D printed and designed by me, and it's meant for the 4-inch square slate coasters. I also have one for round 4-inch coasters as well. And then I also 3D printed this little axolotl from Matt Meyer Makes today as well. So that was pretty cool. Pretty happy with how he turned out. I've printed several of him before, but this was the first time I've done silver on him, and he turned out pretty good. He has some really nice details, mechanical details. He's got little jet packs on his back and all sorts of cool little stuff. So let's get back to the other screen. All right. So first things first is we are going to measure, have the laser measure it. And then once the laser has measured it. We will refresh the screen so we can see what's happening. All right. So this is our screen. And just so we can see this, I'm going to move it to a blue layer. So we have a couple different designs here. And I'm just going to size this and center it as best I can. Maybe like this. The snapping's getting me. So we have this design. Now this is a black whiskey flask, and we're going to do a couple of them. So I say we do two, and we select from either this design, the Freedom flask, Liquid Freedom in a metal can, emergency open in case of stress, anxiety, or exposure to idiots. This is thirst aid. Or we can do North Pole whiskey, get jolly. So if anybody has any ideas on which two we should try, let me know in the comments. Thinking of opting out of the AMS for the Mini and just upgrading to the A1 and just go with single color printing. What do you think? Honestly, I think that the moment you do that, you're going to want to do multicolor printing. Very few things do I print in single color anymore. I'm glad I have the ability to print 8 colors on my Bamboo Labs X1 Carbon with 2 AMS units, so I can print the 8 colors. Each AMS holds 4 each. Now with the A1, I'm not as familiar with, but I believe you are tied to only 4 colors. But if you have the money to do it, I would totally take advantage of it. I don't think you could go wrong with it. But I do think that if you don't get it, you may miss it. Now that doesn't mean you can't add it later. You can always add AMSs later if you decide. So, you know, if money's an issue, or, you know, you're just not sure how deep you're going to jump into it, go with the single color A1, and you can always add the AMS later. So that's what I would personally do. But you know, I'm also in a different circumstance, and I'm not going to tell anybody to go buy something that they, you know, can't afford or don't want to do. So, you know, that's completely up to you. I know if I had the opportunity to get another printer, it would probably be a P1S with an AMS, or another X1C with an AMS. Even though I already have 2 AMSs for my current, that's what I would do. But A1 Mini, you're not, or A1, sorry, you're not going to have an issue with, and you can always add the AMS later. So that's probably the route that you might want to go. If you're going to do a lot of painting and everything, like with these little guys, then single color is fine. If you're wanting to do multicolored items, then you're going to need the AMS at some point. All right, so Ken says North Pole is definitely one that needs to go on a flask. So I need one more, and I think I'm probably going to do something simple like this: emergency holiday water, and or maybe we'll do the Freedom flask. Let me see what we get here on this one. So what I have is I have several different canvases set up here. And each canvas, you can set the laser focus distance, and then you can refresh the screen. So that's why you don't see anything behind some of these until I refresh the screen. So, all right, and just so we can see this, we're going to make this red. Now this doesn't mean it's going to laser red. It's just so we can see it. And we're going to lower this down just a little bit more and make this a tiny bit smaller, about like so. And then I'm going to horizontal align it, vertical align it, and see where it lands. That looks pretty decent. Let me scoot it over just a bit. And then you said freedom. So we're going to adjust that. And move this all to an orange layer, just so we could see it. Horizontal it, vertical it, and move it over just a little. So I'm going to get these set up. We'll do the freedom first. So let me make sure that I have everything set up. And actually, I'm going to do it this way, because we do not want to engrave the purple. We want to engrave the black. And we're going to move the black to red. And we're going to grab both of these. I thought I grabbed both of them. That's the one thing I wish they would kind of change in XCS, is to be able to do layers just a little bit differently. More similar to Photoshop or Illustrator. I think that would help a little bit with lining up stuff. All right, so purple we don't want to engrave, red we do want to engrave. And my settings for this flask, I'm going to try it with one pass at 70% power, 1800 speed, 200 lines per centimeter. And then if we need more power after that, we'll do another pass. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip out of this for a second. So we're going to remove that. We're going to go to our laser camera. And that way you can see the flask. Hey, Ken, I appreciate it, man. It's all good. It is all good, brother. I'm gonna kill my screen sharing connection so I can do the fine tuning in the other room on the other computer. But I will have my mic on so you can hear me, and I'll kind of walk through kind of what I'm doing. So I couldn't find a jig that would work with these flasks that I got. And so what I decided to do is I decided to 3D print one. So I decided, well, I'll just make one that will work with a X1 to F1 Ultra jig and see how it goes. And it actually works pretty good. I mean, it came out decent. All right, so we do have some curvature with this flask. And what I want to do with this, I think I'm going to lower it down just a little bit. And I can make this smaller, but instead of doing that, because I like to do things the hard way, is I'm going to see, I know there's a way to do a curved surface, curved material. Let's see, curved material. Yep. And I've never done this before, so let me switch this back and see if there was an error. Okay, in this object mode, do not. All right. Stainless steel tumbler. Actually, I don't think I want to do curved material just yet because I haven't figured out how to do that. But let me just check something. All right, move the material to allow the center blue dot to fall in the center of the desired processing area. Or perform focusing on the material. Okay, well, my material's already focused. And we want to extend that. Oh, that's way too big. So we're going to try this. So this is brand new for me, so bear with me. Need to go smaller, so let's go 95, see how that looks. Still need to go smaller. Let's go, and I know you can't see what I'm doing on the screen, but all right, now can I move this dot? What I'm trying to do is get this to line up to where it matches on both sides. Okay. And we're going to start measuring. So what this is going to do is this is going to go through and it's going to measure. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but the blue dot, it's going to go through and measure each point on the flask. And the reason I lowered that shield is so it can hopefully get a more accurate reading on the curvature of this flask. Now, technically, I don't have to do this. I'm just trying it because, hey, we're live. Why not? So it's going to go through and it's going to measure 81 points on this flask to get the curvature. And I can kind of show you what this process looks like. So it's halfway done. So it's measuring each point on the software. And then once it's done measuring, it's going to produce a 3D mesh of the flask so it can laser on a curved surface. So let me move you back over here. Get you kind of set up here. And again, the reason it's dark is it's measuring different points. And it is almost done measuring. And we will see how this curved surface thing works. Now, from my understanding, even though I'm going to be using the same flasks, I believe you have to measure each time you do something like this. So if I, do this flask and it turns out, and I put another one up there, I'm gonna have to remeasure it. So now it is done. So what? Let me show you this, and I hope I don't make you all sick by moving the camera. But what it has done is it's created a 3D mesh of this. So this is the surface of the flask. And I'm going to smooth it out. So there you go. So that's what it's done. So that's pretty cool. So let's move you back over here where you can see what's going to happen. And I'm going to click done on this. And I'm going to grab the group. And it's telling me to make it smaller. I'm going to make it just a tick bit smaller. And then we're going to center it. Now the question is it says do not go on, do not position the object based on the background image, which there is no background image showing. So I think we're just going to roll with it. Woo! That is a lot of laser time there. That's a lot more than I expected. So maybe this isn't such a great thing to try on here. So I'm going to switch back to flat. And we are just going to frame it the old-fashioned way because I need to do some more research on that. The that just makes me a little nervous, and I'd prefer not to mess up a flask if I don't have to. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to frame it. We're going to do an outline. We're going to do 10 power. And I think we're pretty good. I think I'm going to move it over just slightly. Maybe just a tick bit more. That looks good to me. So now we're going to stop framing it. We're going to go to process. We're going to click start. We're going to put our shield down so we can protect our little eyeballs. And we're going to see what happens. Again, the settings I am currently using for this flask is 70% power with the fiber IR, 1800 speed, 1 pass, and 200 lines per centimeter. So far, it's looking good. I would like to play with that curved surface, but honestly, on a flask, you don't really want to go past the curves anyway, unless you're doing like a wrap. And I need to do some more research on wraps. So, all right, that looks pretty dang good. So, question is do I need to run another pass? It isn't going to hurt anything. So I'm going to run one more pass just to clean up any residue or anything that may have come from the anodization of the bottle or the flask. And then we will do our next flask. All right, I'm just setting up this next one here. And we're going to put this back in my little jig that I custom made. We're going to lower this down, refocus it. We are going to frame it. So we can see where it's landing on this jig. And this one's going to be a little harder to line up, I think. Looks like we need to go to the left a little bit. And let's go ahead and stop framing. Let's move it to rectangle framing just to see how it looks. Now see, on rectangle framing, that thing is way off. But I don't believe it's that off. So just for the sake of argument, I'm going to make this just a tad bit smaller. We are going to horizontal center it, vertical center it, bump it over, and frame it again. I think we're going to be okay on that. It is coming over just a little bit further on the one side. And it's because it's kind of an oblong shape. So I'm going to make this just a bit smaller. And we'll see how this looks. I think I'm going to go to the left or the right just a couple. We're going to stop it. We're going to go to process. And we're going to give this a shot. Now again, this is not using the curved surface function. So we're going to see how it does. Because I do believe this particular design is going to go on the curve just slightly. So far, so good. That fiber makes quick work of these anodized flasks. Anything anodized, actually. And we're going to hit it one more time. Now, probably what I should have done on this is I should have reversed the image, but to do that in a vector is not easy. Uh, not as easy as some people would think. So, but if I were to do it again, I would probably reverse it. But I think we'll get the general idea, and it'll be a cool gift for somebody at Christmas or something like that. So in case you're just joining us, we use the Samcraft laser jig just prior to do the Millennium Workshop slate coasters. And we also had a custom 3D printed slate coaster holder to put those in. Now we've used a custom jig that I created today and 3D printed to do these 8-ounce whiskey flasks. And so far it's working really well. This is our second flask. We did one just prior to this, and I will show you the results of those here in just a moment, and then I will get the other project set up. Okay, so this one's done. So now the one thing that is nice about these particular jigs that are for the F1 that convert the F1 jigs to the F1 Ultra is they are centered in the F1 Ultra bed. So all I have to do is remove my 3D printed jig that I made for the flasks, and then I can simply clip in another jig. And actually I want to do this the other direction. So I want to do it like this. And these just snap in. So as you can see, we're going to do some bamboo pins. We're going to do 2 bamboo pins. So I can show potential customers what we can custom engrave for them. So I'm going to put a pin here and a pin down here. And we might as well make them both on the same side, or actually we can rotate them afterwards. So we'll get those lined up. I'm going to go ahead and measure this. Get the laser to measure it. And then I'm going to adjust the size of my text here and get it all centered up. And we're going to come down a little bit on that one. Now what's interesting is this is engraving on a curved surface. So I wonder if the curved surface option would be better to do this on. But I think I'm just going to wing it and see how it comes out. And we're going to come down just a little bit lower. And just a little bit lower. We're going to stop the framing. And as soon as I get this set up, we will go back to the other one before we do the process. That looks about right. And I'm going to come back up with this one. And we're going to stop it. Make sure our settings are correct. And before we do this, let's show you the results of the flasks. All right, so, hey Rex. Yes, I believe there is a hyperdrive show tonight. That's why I'm trying to get these going and get them done. So, let me switch cameras here real quick. So as you can see, here is the coasters that we did for Rex. Here is the North Pole flask. Laser engraved pretty good. And here is the Freedom flask. So I would say that those were successful. So we'll lay those right there. We'll move this little axolotl out of the way. And then we will go back to our laser. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. All right, so now we're going to go back to our laser, and we're going to see if we can do these bamboo pans without starting a fire. When you're doing wood, you always have to be careful, mainly because fires can happen. And these are bamboo. And for the settings, I am using the blue light laser, the diode, at 50% power, 75% speed, one pass at 160 lines per centimeter. Here we go. Now again, I could probably do this with the curved surface function that was just added to XTool, but I'm trying it without that just to see how well it does actually. And that is a pretty dark engrave, so I could probably lower the power by quite a bit if somebody didn't want a deep dark engrave. But I may have to try the curved surface option on a pen like this just to see if it makes a difference. I don't think it will because it's such a small area. But that blue light laser is definitely making short work of these pins, these bamboo wood pins. And that is a really dark engrave. So I think on the next ones, maybe lighten the power a little bit and not get as dark. Yeah, that's pretty deep engrave. Almost to the point of burning it. So let's grab two more pins and let's lighten this up a little bit. I'm going to refocus. And I am going to save this setting, and I'm just going to save it as uh, bamboo pin engrave. And then I'm going to lower the power by quite a bit. Like I'm going to go, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the speed. So I'm going to raise the speed from 75 up to 500. And we're going to keep it at 160. And we're going to do the framing here. First, let me make sure these are combined. They are. So let's do the framing. Make sure we have it all in the same place roughly. Yeah, I think this pin we can bump this way. And then this one, that looks about right. So let's just shoot it and see what happens. Here we go. Now this engraving shouldn't be as dark because I've sped it up. We're using the same power, but the engraving won't be as dark or as deep. Take a look. I think we could go just a little bit on the other one, maybe another pass on the bottom one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this one, but I am going to save this as bamboo pin light engrave. And we're going to run another pass on the bottom pin. All right. Grab our pins. And I will see you in the room. All right. So let's switch you back to the other camera. So for the pins, the first pins, and I'm going to show the first pin and the second pin that we did. So here we have a very deep engrave. This was 50% power. Let me see if I can get my camera to focus. Let me move these items here. So the top one was 50% power and a slow speed of 75. This one was 50% power and 600 speed. So if you wanted a deep, dark engrave, you could go slower. Come on, camera, focus. Still not focusing. Good grief. There we go. Maybe. So that's pretty deep. Hang on. Let me see if I can fix this. That's pretty deep. And you got a little bit of burning. Same with this one. This one was pretty deep with some burning. And you can't even read what Designs is at the bottom of that logo. Then you have the lighter engrave, not as much burning, a little bit lighter, still has tactile, you can still feel it. And for the other pen that we did 2 passes on, still can't really read designs there at the bottom. I swear my camera wants to focus on everything but what I'm showing. So you still can just barely read designs, but I think this looks better, personally. Now this shows up better, but I think personally, instead of having a dark engrave, a dark deep engrave, somebody would want more of a lighter engrave. Well, thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. So hyperdrive's getting ready to start, but we're going to wrap this up. So we did coasters, we did pins, and we did 2 flasks. So not bad for a quick little 1 hour, 15-minute session. Be sure to check out Hyperdrive tonight if you are a Star Wars fan. You can see them right here on YouTube at Hyperdrive Star Wars. Come check out George and Ralph and Eben and Frankie and say hi to them. If you want swag or merch from Utinni Designs, you can go to our Utinni Designs-shop.fourthwall.com and pick up t-shirts, hats, desk mats. You can also follow us on Patreon, patreon.com/Utinni Designs, and you can support the channel and the things we do here and become a member. You can get access to files, designs, 3D print files, that sort of thing that we custom make. We will not provide any files that we do not make ourselves. But we can show you where to go get them if you want some. So again, thank you all very much. Check out the website, utinnidesigns.com. We will be launching a laser section for that website. And hopefully you all have a good night. And thank you again. And until next time, may the force be with you.